The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I said you're up and I'm up. Y'all now tuned into the Grind Hard Dream Big Show. The harder you grind, the bigger you dream. I got a special guest in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Kay Kiara.
How you feeling today?
I feel good. I feel blessed.
The sun is shining and so should all of us, right? I feel like it's definitely good to see another day, another week. How was your week?
It was definitely good. I got a lot of wins this week.
For sure. You want to share any wins that you had this week?
Definitely. One of my biggest wins this week is I had the opportunity to perform for domestic violence survivors, one including my mother, and it meant a lot to me to be able to perform for her and other women.
For sure.
So yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I think a win for me. I actually updated all of my information. Like as far as like everything that I did, as far as building my resume, added more to it, journaling more, and I finished the book UOU. So that was definitely dope. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely proud of me for that. Shout out to God for sure.
Amen.
So.
Won't he do it?
Yes, he will every time. Every time. So as far as like the journey for people that don't know you, your childhood, like. Where'd you grow up? Where you were born? Where you were raised? Like when you went to school?
Oh, this is my favorite story. So originally I'm from H-Town, Houston, Texas. I was born in Houston. And due to some unfortunate things, I had to move to Maryland, which isn't so unfortunate because I love it here. So I was raised in Silver Spring, Maryland. I went to Paint Branch High School, and that is where I graduated. What else? I'm sorry.
As far as like your childhood and like, you know, your hobbies and like things that you did.
Okay, childhood. I was a stepper and a cheerleader. I found a lot of good use in dancing and being active. And then I became a writer. About the age of 14, I became a writer. And I wrote my very first piece, I would say. And that was just about my life, really. And it pushed me to want to tell my story more. So I picked up my pen and my paper, and I've been writing ever since, pretty much.
That's what's up. So, like, in school, right, I feel like, okay, when we all went to school, like, was there, like, a favorite subject you liked, like, you look forward to?
My favorite was English. That might sound cliche because I'm a writer, but I love English. I don't know, I always got A's, straight A's.
For sure. I ain't gonna lie, like, that's what I love, too. I loved English. I loved reading. I know, like, when I went to college, it was definitely, like, the public speaking and everything like that. So this is no coincidence as far as being a communications major, a proud graduate of Bowie State University. Shout out to my Bowie State Bulldogs one time. But, yeah, definitely doing that. So what was that moment where you felt like, okay, I'm writing, but I have to do more with this?
That moment was definitely 2 years ago, actually. I went to a place called the Poetry Party in Baltimore, and I performed that piece that I mentioned earlier, my very first piece. I actually performed that at the Poetry Party, and I mean, the crowd was just crying. They were hugging me, they were embracing me, and they were telling me, like, you gotta keep writing. Like, what you said to be so young and motivating me. I mean, I had people from all ages, all races, all genders talking to me, and it really made me think, like, you got to do more with things. Like, you could reach the youth, you could reach, you know, your OGs, you know, and I wanted to do something with it.
For sure, for sure. So, like, I know with, like, art, a lot of us can be sensitive with it, right? Where it's like, oh my gosh, like I wrote this is dope, and it's like, I don't know if I want to put this out, or like, I don't know if I'm ready. So, like, your first performance, like, ever, like, if you could go back and kind of, like, describe that feeling, like, okay, I'm about to perform this day, what it really took to actually step on the stage and grab that microphone and just flow.
Oh man, my first performance, it was very emotional. I cried, and a lot of people told me that emotion brought out my performance to another level. If I could go back, I wouldn't have cried, even though people say that they like the emotion, but I personally felt like I couldn't even get through a word, you know? But I love the feeling of performing.
For sure, for sure. I think it's nothing like it because I feel like, you know, you don't know how resourceful you are to another person, or you're inspiring somebody in that crowd where it's like, okay, you know what, like, I see this person doing that, I could do it too. Yeah. So definitely motivating and inspiring. So, like, throughout it, like, do you write about, like, almost anything that comes to mind, or do you feel like, okay, if this is, like, my go-to subject, I can be here, like, all day long?
Definitely not. I don't like to fit inside of a box. I'm very versatile. I can write about any and everything. I can tell you a story about the time I had some good sex, and I can tell you a story about the time I got my heart broke. I can tell you a story about anything pretty much. I call myself the storyteller, so there's no limit to me.
Okay, so do you have any influences in like the poetry scene, or just like music, or anyone that inspires you or motivates you to, you know, write and perfect your art?
Definitely. Okay, I'm gonna name 3. My top 3 influences in the poetry scene. My first one would definitely have to be to Chaos himself. He is definitely a dope poet. He's a male poet, and he just be spitting that fire. He tells some dope stories, and I resonate with him a lot. So I look up to him. Another one would be Steph Marie. She's another great poet, hostess, mentor. She's actually my mentor right now. She's mentoring me on artist development. And another one of my inspirations in this poetry field would be Backpack Jeff, definitely. He's also another one of my mentors in my life. He's a life coach, and I look up to him definitely.
Yeah,
so shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to them for sure, man. Win the circle for sure, for sure, for sure.
Gang.
Yeah. All heavy, all heavy. I think that it's very, very important, like you said, and just taking that information, because now it's like so much information that's out there for us, and there's so much access, but it's like, what do we do with the information that's been, you know, given to us? So can you speak on like building like relationships and being able to, you know, be coachable? Because I think you know, you're in this space because you're coachable, you're learning a lot as you go, and you're applying information. So relationships, how do you value them, and what do those look like for those people that don't know like what relationships are?
Right. So before I answer that, I definitely learned a lot about relationships over time. I wasn't always teachable. I wasn't always reachable. You couldn't tell me nothing about myself. And the older I got, I became more humble. I became more hungry, and I wanted to learn. I no longer wanted to sit at a table with people I couldn't learn from. Like if I couldn't learn from you, I didn't want to sit with you. So after meeting people that I genuinely wanted to learn from and building those relationships with them, I cherish those relationships because nobody has to give you knowledge. Nobody has to help you. Nobody has to support you. So when you have those type of friends or relationships or supporters in your life, I think it's important to cherish those and reciprocate. Reciprocation is definitely key.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be that energy, or you're looking for that energy, you got to be that energy. And I think that's kind of hard sometimes because we expect, but sometimes we may not deliver. We may not, you know, pull up and support or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think relationships is definitely important. And just understanding to, you know, listen to understand as opposed to reply. It's okay if you make a mistake. Somebody's seen something in you that you probably ain't seen in yourself. For sure. So, as far as that, what are you learning, like, in the poetry space? Like, what are you learning about it? Like, the business, you and your personal development. Like, what could you say that you've been learning and kind of, like, unlearning?
Yeah, man, I'm learning a lot, actually. Something that I'm focusing right now is definitely my dialogue and my pieces, the body language I bring, capturing the audience and keeping them engaged. In my performances, I'm learning how to level my voice, use different voices, and networking. Those are the top 2 things on my list right now when it comes to my artistry. Networking is key. You can go to a place where nobody knows you and leave with 100 supporters. You can leave with a paid opportunity or an unpaid one, but it doesn't matter because those are doors opening that weren't open before. So I think that networking is something that I'm definitely learning more about and interested in when it comes to further in my career as a poet. And back to the dialogue and body language, it's very important to me because I performed a piece twice, one without the dialogue and the bilanguage, one with, and you can tell the difference, you know? So those are the top two things that I'm learning when it comes to being an artist.
For sure. I like that. Because I think that, we can all learn something, right? We aren't the, masters of everything. Every expert was once a beginner, right? So it's like to be on, different types of statues and what we see, especially like in our lives and our culture. Because when we look up to things or try to apply information, we have to be mindful of it, right? So, your support system. Can you speak on like your support system and like who really pours into you, or how do you kind of like carry yourself in this space? Because I think social media is very important, right? Yeah. Or not even only social media, but how you carry yourself, in real life, right? So how do you manage social media?
Well, first of all, I think social media is toxic. Okay, it can be. I take that back. It can be very toxic. So ways that I've learned to navigate is not to really create this false storyline and live up to everybody else's expectations. I'm living for me, and if it's making me happy, that's what it is. That's key. I definitely am more private about things. For example, after becoming an artist, I've become more private about my personal life. I'm a mother, so I have 2 beautiful kids, and I cherish them. I hold them very close to me. So I have learned to keep them off social media to a certain extent. Like, you definitely know that I'm a mom by my page, but I don't post them all the time because I'm a mom on and off the internet. You know what I mean? As far as support system, I definitely have one of the greatest support systems when it comes to my mother. She supports me in any and everything I do. She manages me in my career. So she definitely helps me navigate the social media as well. So yeah.
That's what's up. Nah, I ain't gonna lie, because like you said earlier, social media can be toxic. Yeah. Speaking to that, like, I feel like we're in a day and age now where, somebody could be on social media regardless if it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're at, and just looking at information and you don't realize how time consuming that could be. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, like, I got a 9 to 5, I still gotta be on my 9 to 5, why am I entertaining this? Or I'm supposed to be doing this, why am I doing that? And people, and I know I've done this before, competing or feeling like I didn't belong because of social media, because of the high expectation, because of the rhetoric or narrative there was. And then I realized once you start writing your own story and controlling it the way you want to, you're at peace. Yeah. You're at peace with it. So what advice would you give to people that are trying to navigate business or career through the social media space? Because sometimes we struggle to separate what's real, what's fake, and things like that.
My advice would honestly be to figure out or find out what's for you and what's not for you. For example, some advice that somebody gave me is, if I don't want to see the toxicity on social media, if I don't want to feed into the things that make me insecure, I shouldn't be following those things. For example, blogs or if you have insecurities about your body, you shouldn't be following a plastic surgeon or something like that. So my advice would be to follow things that motivate you, that uplift you, follow people, that motivate you and uplift you. Promote yourself, definitely. Everything is content, first of all. Like, I'm still learning that everything is content. Literally, baking some cookies is a reel, and you can get millions of views on that. So honestly, just live for yourself. What makes you happy, and it's not going to be overnight. You have to figure that out and stay true to that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And it's okay at times to make mistakes. Definitely. I think that's the thing. Like, we fall in love with everything got to be perfect. Everything has to look like this. Everything has to be like that. And you're not even pushing the button for yourself. You probably push the button for somebody else, but you got to push it for yourself. So, like, in this space, and you working and doing all these things, from performing to motherhood and things like that, and salute to you for that as well, and being vulnerable and transparent about that, because I definitely think that it definitely takes a village, right? Yeah. What does self-care look like for you?
Honestly, self-care can look like a nap for me, okay? Because sometimes I don't even get sleep. But outside of stuff like that, honestly, You know, sometimes I just do spa days. Sometimes I just eat. Sometimes I just write. You know, even if I'm with my children, seeing them happy is self-care for me because it gives me happiness. It gives me the motivation to continue to be the best mother that I can be. But definitely taking that time to breathe, meditate. It doesn't have to be big or deep when it comes to myself, but just finding that time for myself just to breathe.
Absolutely. No, I agree because, you know, self-care looks different to different people. I know myself, like, I know I got to rest, and I'm like, I struggle with that. I'm always on the go, always on the go, always doing something, always doing something. So I just have to find a day that just, like, relax. All right, I'm not on my laptop. I'm not doing this. Let me just go ahead and take a time out for me.
Something I also learned as a mother, not even just an artist or a person working, but to my mothers or my parents out there, it's okay to take breaks. Sometimes I found myself feeling guilty for wanting to take self-care days or having breaks because of the fact that I'm a mom. But it's okay. It's definitely important because mental health is wealth. If you have some good mental health, you know that's wealth. And I think that it's important to take those moments and have those breaks. Kids or no kids, but definitely with them.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So what is one thing that you think that I think, you know, that next generation, right? Because we have, you know, us as, you know, the millennials, Gen Z, then the generation after us is Generation Alpha, and even for the OGs, right? There's a lot that's going on. A lot of people don't really know that it's really, really different gaps. So I had to break it down for people. Yeah. So it's millennials, Gen Z, Generation Alpha, you know, and then you have, of course, the baby boomers who were before. Like, what do you think is the disconnect in the, like, language and the conversations? Because I feel like the youth, you know, when it comes to, like, guidance per se or something like that, they may seem a little bit rebellious, right? To it. And then others may be more receptive to it. And then others just like, okay, you know what, I'm going to just leave this alone because they may be crazy, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Personally, I think over time, parents started telling themselves that they wouldn't do what their parents did. And I'm not gonna lie, I tell myself that all the time sometimes. I'm like, you know, I would never do that, something that my mom did with my kids. And in a sense, you start becoming more lenient on your children, more free on them, more less disciplined. And I think that each generation, the discipline is like going out the window. Like, okay. So the disrespect is becoming more. The rebellion is becoming more. Even when you give them freedom, it seems like you give them an inch, you take a mile. And I can honestly say that because I was a rebellious teen growing up, you know. And my mom pretty much gave me everything I wanted. There were just moments where I felt like I got influenced. And this brings me back to social media because the youth is really influenced these days by social media and rappers and other artists, and it's like everyone wants to be somebody else in a sense. That's kind of the grasp that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that too. I know for like the fellas out there, or like the youth, I say it's too many young boys, not enough J. Cole's. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Or like even for the ladies out there, it's too many, you know, and no disrespect, the Cardi B's, Megan Thee Stallions, not enough Lauryn Hills, not enough raps for these. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that from a standpoint where it's, you know, beauty is, you know, within yourself. Understanding how you carry yourself, how you dress, how you walk, how you talk, your posture and everything. Everything doesn't necessarily have to be a carbon copy, you know. And that's what I want, you know, them to take away and understand too, and building that confidence. So yeah, definitely I agree. And it's hard for them because they can't separate, you know, entertainment and like what's really real. So I definitely appreciate you for breaking that down because sometimes that may be a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
For
definitely.
sure. So what is I guess one fun fact about yourself that, you know, probably, you know, something spontaneous that you like doing that's like different?
I have no idea. I like doing, I feel like everybody does this. See in the shower. I mean, that's spontaneous. I don't really know. I feel like I'm really boring. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think I have like something that's like different than like people would think. But if I had to say something like really different, I binge watch Netflix shows and I chew ice while doing it. But it's like it's like a pattern. I can't do one without the other. Like I can't watch the show without chewing ice. So
Okay.
if I don't have ice, I'm not watching the show.
Okay. What's the last show you watched on Netflix?
I'm actually currently watching Married at First Sight.
Okay.
So that's the show. Yeah.
Okay. Married at First Sight. I heard about it. I'm not really into it like that. But I don't judge people, but like, you know what I'm saying? I can't really get with it like that. I know Netflix, they got a lot of dope documentaries on there too. I'm more of a docu guy, or what is it, animated type of person as well. I watch it with some other shows I watched. I watched All American.
Oh, I like that one. Do you watch Power?
Yes, I do.
Oh, great.
I watch a lot. I watch it a lot. Raising Kanan just finished. That was pretty dope as well. I'm waiting for Go Season 3.
Yeah.
It's definitely different though.
What about BMF?
BMF is cool.
Okay.
BMF
I like
is
that
cool.
one too.
Yeah, BMF is cool. And I'm waiting for Snowfall to come back.
Oh, you watch?
Yeah, I watched it.
What about The Shy?
The Shy's cool.
Okay.
I watched
See,
The
I
Shy
like
too.
you.
Yeah, The Shy's cool. The Shy's cool. I mean, and it's different, like I said, because I remember watching, shows like that, or even watching movies like that. But
yeah.
I think, and to put things into greater schemes, like when we watch these shows, you watch them when you're young, right? And then it's like when you watch them again, it's a different message. So I know, like for myself, like you watching like what was it, Paid in Full, Boys in the Hood, what is it, Menace to Society, Above the Rim, things like that. I was watching it young and I was like, oh, okay, this was what it's on. Then it's like when you watch it, you get older, it's like, okay, this was what really, trying to teach you.
Yeah.
So like, for our community and understanding what our culture is, I would encourage people to really define what it means to them and then really truly embrace that, because there's a lot going on right now. You know what I'm saying? So as far as like the influences and things of that nature, what is one thing that you would have told your younger self?
That you're enough. That you can be anything and that you're beautiful, honestly. Growing up, I had a lot of insecurities, dealing with the fact of not having my dad. So it was really hard to navigate through life while trying to find myself and find where I fit, and also while looking for him and everyone that I met. So if I could go back, I would definitely, remind my younger self that I was enough and that I'm beautiful, definitely.
I like that confidence. Definitely. I would definitely say that, you are somebody because somebody's, depending on you and somebody's watching you. It's times where I felt like, okay, like even in the room, like I don't even belong. But you gotta walk in there like God sends you there. Because at the end of the day, like he ain't put it on your heart for no reason. He ain't give you no idea for no reason. So having that confidence and that belief in that, that you can do something. Because sometimes you gotta shock yourself. Yeah. And I'm like, I always felt that everybody had to be on the same page. Everybody had to be on the same team. Like, I thought you guys would want it the same way I wanted it, or seeing the same vision. But sometimes when you walk alone, God has sent some people for you. Yeah. And he sends some people that believe in your vision and can invest in you, for sure.
I definitely believe in that.
Yeah. And and it's hard because, we try to find ways to get confidence.
Yeah.
This is not accidental work. This is purposeful work.
Yeah.
So as far as like the topics and stuff that you've discussed, like what is like one struggle I would say with this space? Like what is that roadblock you feel like sometimes for you?
In life?
Yeah, like in life.
I think one of my biggest roadblocks is kind of the fear of failure. I think that I'm my biggest obstacle. I don't really allow other things to get in my way and stop me. I typically stop myself. And I think it's because, like I said, I'm afraid of failure. And I know that nothing's going to be perfect. I'm still learning to understand that about myself and about life. But because I have people depending on me, I'm just afraid of failing them. And that comes with everything. That doesn't just mean poetry. I'm a teacher, and I'm in college as we speak to further my career as a teacher. And poetry and teaching are both my passions. So I'm just afraid of failing at either or, you know?
I got you. I ain't gonna lie. It's, like vice versa when it comes to that, like, you know, career and just, you know, things of that nature. You don't want to let people down because you got so many people like counting on you, depending on you, or like you may feel like you're the only person that's like on the channel or that tunnel vision that you're supposed to have, and everybody else probably didn't have it. But they're glad that you got it. So it's like they can look up to you. So I'm like, as I'm doing this work, I'm realizing like, yo, it's people that are dependent on me. It's deeper. It's bigger than me now. It's like it don't serve just for myself. It serves for other people.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's selfless instead of being selfish. So.
And honestly, I'm grateful for them because if I didn't have them, who knows where I would be. I would probably do things on my own time because it's just me. But because I have those people, they push me to no limit.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. As far as like mental health in our community, do you feel like it's getting in a better space where people are kind of acknowledging that they have issues or problems, or do you feel like it's still heavy with the pride and the ego?
Absolutely. Mental health isn't talked about enough, still. I definitely consider myself a mental health advocate. I personally have struggled, and I still struggle with mental health. 7 years ago, in August, would have been the anniversary of my death had I succeeded at suicide. And it wasn't talked about enough then, and I still feel like it's not talked about enough now. People are too consumed with a persona, and like this, my child would never, or my friend would never mindset, that they're not open enough to accept that mental health lives in us. Whether we want it to or not, it can be passed down, it can grow on you. You can go through a traumatic event tomorrow and have PTSD the next week. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's very important to educate yourself because it could be you, it could be your mom, it could be your best friend. And if you're not educated enough on it, you'll never know. You know what I mean? It's okay to have these uncomfortable conversations. It's okay to ask, hey, are you okay? You know what I mean? And I don't think there's enough of us doing that. Because if there were, my answer would be different.
I agree with you 100%. And, you know, piggybacking off of that with suicide, one of my community partners actually, well, not partners, but we did a community event together. He actually lost his life because he took his life. Wow. Because I guess of expectations or anything like that. So just understanding that, you know, pride and ego and expectations can definitely weigh heavy from cultural standpoints as well. Yeah. So I think that, you know, definitely we need to be a neighbor to our neighbor. And I'm not just sitting there saying like, hey, you walk out the house and, you know, you see your neighbor while you're grabbing the mail. Not that type. It's just more so like really checking in with your neighbors, checking in with your, you know, people, your homies, whoever you love. Yeah. And letting them know like, hey, is everything okay? Because you never know.
And talking. I'm a big hypocrite when it comes to that because sometimes I hold everything in and I don't talk. But it's okay to talk. Find someone that you trust, that you're close to. Get a therapist. I have one. I see her twice a week faithfully. And just talk.
Yeah, for sure. And once you talk and once you release that as well, you probably feel like, hey, I got 1,000 pounds off my shoulders. Yeah. Like all that weight is gone. I feel free. Yeah. I can move. I can breathe. I can stretch. I can shake. You know, and all that. So I feel like that's definitely important as well. Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate this conversation. It was definitely heavy, and it kind of felt like a therapy session.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing.
It felt like a therapy session.
Like therapy.
For sure. So, any motivation for anyone that's watching, anyone that wants to chase a dream, wants to just be themselves, like, or they're lost, they're confused, they're doubtful, have these insecurities, like we had talked about. What is your advice to them?
My number one advice would be to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to be consistent. You have to be focused. You have to make those sacrifices. Those late nights at poetry night performing, and you have to get up in the morning the next day. You have to make those sacrifices if you want, no matter what your craft is, you know, you have to want it enough. I believe it's you who, I seen a video and you were saying, like, you have to do, even if they won't, you know, do something, you have to do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to want it for yourself. So I think that if I could tell anyone anything, it would be to keep going, keep fighting, work hard, dream big, and just keep going. Don't fall into the stereotypes, and don't crack under pressure. Don't listen to the haters, because you're gonna have some. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. So
yeah,
hey.
for sure. Nah, I agree 100%. I think that it really just starts with self. Sometimes I think we don't evaluate ourselves enough. We kind of look at our environment more. We probably look at our circle more and embrace that. So that same energy that you have for them, you should really have for yourself.
Right.
And you can't pour from an empty cup. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So just keep, you know, pouring, keep watering, you know, and keep growing, and realize that, you know, the timetable that God has for you is the timetable He has for you. Don't try to be in a rush to find another equation, because God is the equation and we're part of it. That's what I would definitely say. That's what my advice would be. And slow down. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing I tell myself too. Like, definitely got to slow down and pace yourself, because you know, you want to move correctly. You don't want to necessarily be the first at the finish line and be like, okay, I won the race. What do I get?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're moving correctly as well. So I think that that's definitely important. So find some people that are like-minded. Find some people that's going to challenge you, that want you to grow, that's going to tell you the things that you need to hear, as opposed to want to hear all the time. So that's definitely what I would say. I know it sounds like a word, wisdom.
Got some gems.
For sure, dropping gems, for sure. So once again, I appreciate you for taking the time out. You could have been writing a new piece. You could have been performing somewhere. You could have been, you know, just working on something else. I appreciate you taking the time, energy, and effort. Anything that I can do to definitely support. I know that you're going to do tremendous things. Continue to do tremendous things. Continue to be, you know, inspiration for anybody that, you know, follows you, inspires you, you know, motivates you. So where can people follow you? How can people get connected? If people want to book you, if people want, you know, you to just be involved.
Yes, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Kay Kiara. That's KAYKIARA _. In my bio, I do have a link tree where you can book me. You can see some events that I've done, see some upcoming events. I will be spotlighting at Trap Poetry next month, November 20th. The show is almost sold out, but you can get some tickets at the door, so definitely pull up and come see me. My DMs are always open. My mom is my manager, so she will be in my contact information as well if you would like to book me. And yeah, thank you.
For sure. And like I said, please make sure that y'all support. Like I said, we grind hard, dream big. I want everybody to win. It's basically putting people in a position to win, and it's just really adding value to, you know, so that way you can always be valuable. So for everybody that's out there that wants to, you know, do anything, just take the step to whatever it is. Don't play around. Don't play with yourself. Just continue to invest in yourself, and, you know, take yourself serious, because when you take yourself serious, people will take you serious. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, the harder you grind, the bigger you dream. 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 We out.